Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. I hope you are all having a fabulous Wednesday so far today. We're going to give it a couple minutes. We've still got some people that are coming into the room. We had quite a few people register for our class. I know that some of those people are not going to be able to attend. So we're going to just give it a couple minutes and see who ends up coming in for the live viewing, and then everybody else will get the recap. But for today's class, we are going to be going over company defaults. So these are going to be things that you want to set up when you start your details account. But they're also things that you want to update, I would say, at the very minimum annually, to make sure that everything in your account is up to date and exactly as you want it for all of your events moving forward. This is going to be a great time to do that, especially with 2023 fast approaching. I don't know about you guys, but time has just been flying over here for us. So it'll be here before you know it. And you'll just want to make sure that everything is completely up to date and ready for you to go in and hit the ground running in 2023. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Got a couple more people coming in. Lovely. All right, so I'm going to give it just another minute here. For anybody that doesn't know, my name is Brandy, and I am the Director of Support here at Details Flowers. And we do one of these webinars once a month. So if you guys are interested in continuing on and attending these webinars, in your account from the main menu under support, there is a webinars button that you can always see what our upcoming webinars are and register for those month after month. So if you're ever interested in seeing more of these, we also do host master classes as well once a month. So if you're interested in that, you can also sign up for that there as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. As we're going through, I do ask that everybody just kind of keep yourselves on mute. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat there, and Miranda, my colleague, is going to be there available to answer questions. And then we'll also open the floor for any questions at the end as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Lovely. All right. So to get started with your company settings, the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to the main menu here in the upper left-hand corner. And there's going to be an option here for company. And the first page that you'll come to is going to be your info page. This will be all of the general information about your business, like where you're located, your phone number, email address, things like that. This is also where you're going to be able to input your logo. If you're a company that has multiple logos or businesses within businesses, you can also adjust that logo on the proposal area as well. We are going to do next month, our tips and tricks webinar is going to be on customizing your proposal. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can sign up for next month when we put out that link. But for right now, note that this is going to be your general logo and general information about your company itself. On this page, you're also going to see here an email. This email, whatever email you choose to put in that email slot, is going to be where your signed proposal notifications go. So each time a client goes in to sign a proposal that you've created, you're going to get an email to your inbox, to whatever email you put here, that lets you know that that client has signed the proposal, and it'll have a nice link for you to go in there and look at that as well. The next section is going to be our event defaults. If you have gone into details and you've started to create events, or if, like I said, you've been with us for a while, this section mirrors your main worksheet that you have in each one of your events. So it's going to have sections and line items that are applicable to the event type that you most primarily utilize. So for example, right now we have our setup more focused towards weddings. I'm going to want to go ahead and put in all of the different sections and line items, such as bouquets, and then of course the bride, toss bouquet, maid of honor, etc. For any section that's on this worksheet, I can go down to the bottom and add new rows. And each row is editable, so you can change the name of that row as you see fit. The same thing for any sections. You can click into the section name, change out that section name, and then just click out of the box and it will update here on your worksheet. Additionally, for each one of these line items that you have on here, we always recommend that you put in an estimated price. The estimated price in this case, because we haven't talked to a specific bride, it's not going to be a specific style, etc. It's just going to be, this is what my median price is for bridal bouquets. This is what my median price is for boutonnieres. It's so that you can give somebody a quick quote based on, I've got, bride, groom, X number of groomsmen, X number of bridesmaids, and a couple of centerpieces. What's my estimate on that? So you can easily go in and just plug in those quantities and say, hey, this is going to be, your estimate before we even start talking about, the actual theme of the wedding or colors, etc. The other thing that you're going to want to focus on for each one of these sections is going to be the tax column. So right now, since I'm in that bouquet section, these are going to be products. So I'm taxing all of these right now as taxable products. However, if I'm talking about things like, if I scroll down a little bit, and we're talking about services or fees, I'm going to want to make those either, for services, TS for taxable service. In the fees section, you can have, services, labor, products, whatever you'd like to have there in your fees. And you can tax those accordingly from the tax column here. You'll also notice that with any one of these sections, you can also make something non-taxable. So if you ever need that option, it is there for you to select as well. So everybody's account does start off with a general outline here. It's a wedding outline, and so it's going to have some sections and line items already on here, but you can adjust this to fit more in line with your company and the things that you normally provide to your clients. So for example, I've got junior bridesmaids on here, but maybe, I'm seeing a trend and most of my clients don't have junior bridesmaids. I can take that out. Same thing with any of the corresponding fields here. Additionally, you can also remove any of these sections by clicking on the trash can in the upper right-hand corner here. If you go in and remove a section and at some later date you decide that you want to bring that section back, on the left-hand side, if I click the More drop-down menu, I do have an area here called Removed Sections. What that allows me to do is drag and drop that section right back onto my worksheet exactly how it was when I initially deleted it. It's going to have all of the sections, all of the line items. If I had estimated pricing and things like that in there, it would all already populate there. If you need a new section on your worksheet that's not already provided for you, on the left-hand side, you are going to see the different worksheet section options. And for each one of those, you can drag and drop that directly onto your worksheet and customize it as you see fit. So we talked about you can add additional rows here, and then of course you can adjust the section title and the line title here as well. All right, so because this is our default, this is an area where I would highly recommend that you go in and put in, like, for your staff. You know that your event supervisor that you have normally gets paid a rate of X amount of dollars. So you can go ahead and put that in here. If your state taxes on labor, I would go ahead and we can go ahead and make those check boxes checked now. So I don't have to do that step when I get to individual events. If there are fees that you charge every single time that you have an event, if it's a delivery fee or anything like that, you can add that onto your fees here. And then that way, every time you start an event, that fee will already be on there and all you need to do is plug in that amount. Or perhaps my delivery fee is always going to be 20% of my products, in which case I can go ahead and put that in there now. So the point of the default worksheet here is really just to get your sections, line items, estimated prices, fees, staff, and labor that you're always going to use in each of your events onto this default worksheet. And that way, when you get to your individual events, you can just plug in numbers or plug in your recipes and things like that. You're not going to have to deal with adding new sections, adding new rows, and all of that. With that being said, I do want to mention that that is an option though. So if you get to an event and that specific event requires an additional section or line item, you can certainly adjust that as well. This is just going to be preemptively setting up your default worksheet here so you minimize the amount of things that you need to do on an individual worksheet. Okay. So we were talking about the different tax percentages here on your worksheet. So in order to set up your default taxes here in details, you'll want to add that section here to your event defaults and then adjust these percentages. I was mentioning that as details is located in Florida, we do have the tax percentage there that is applicable to our location, and that is going to be defaulted in everybody's account when you first start. So you will want to go in and do this step and update that tax percentage. This is also a great opportunity to research if there are any plans to change taxes in your state or in your area come the new year, and that way you can make those adjustments as well. Lovely. All right. So Marcella had a question. When I add an item in services, example, planning services, then in the summary page, you don't see it listed. Okay. So I would say the most common cause of that is that it's not taxed as a taxable service, or that it doesn't have a quantity. So it has to have like a quantity in here, for example. But it needs to be taxed as a taxable service in order for it to show up in the services line here on the summary section. Good question, common question. So if anybody else had that question too. All right, so once I have finished with this, I'm going to go ahead and save at the bottom. Always, always, always go ahead and save there. Other things to note about your event defaults here are on the upper right-hand corner. We do have an options menu, and in that, first, we're going to see our worksheet settings, excuse me. And this is where you can set your default markup. And then right above that, you're also going to see an area for admin fee rate. And this is going to allow you to add a percentage-based admin fee onto your worksheet. So if that's something that you want to be applied for every event moving forward, you'll want to go ahead and put that here within the event default section. Okay. And then also in the options menu here, we do now have a new option where you can load a template directly into your defaults. So if, for example, you are in an account in your worksheet and you have created this event and you want to save that template and you say, oh, you know, I think I really want to use this as my default template. If that's the case, you can load that template in here from this page and select that from the drop-down menu. Okay, awesome. And then you can also start with a blank worksheet. So if you ever want to just kind of cut everything and start over, you can do that as well. All right. So next, we are going to go into our contract terms. Arguably one of the most important portions of your entire company setup here. In details, when you first get started, it does start off with a general outline here of a contract that you can certainly utilize. We do always recommend that you go in and just take a look at this, have an attorney look at it and make sure that it's applicable for your clientele, your area, the laws in your state. As we know, those vary from state to state. So I would, if you're going to use the ones that are preloaded in details, I would always recommend to go ahead and get those checked over. If you have a set of contract terms that you already have for your company and you want to add those in, any one of these sections can be edited. So for example, if you already have something on reservations and retainer fees, you're going to click on what looks like a little half square with an arrow, and that's going to populate that section here on the right-hand side. And you can just paste all that information right in. In addition, for any one of these sections, we also have something called tokens. So this right here is going to be a token. So in your contract terms here, you can also add these tokens. And what the tokens are they're going to be mapping that information applicable to the token into your contract terms. So what I mean by that is, for example, an event date. If I want to add in my client's name here into the contract terms, I can remove that and put client name. And then every time that I start an event, the client's name for that particular event will populate in that area. We do have a variety of different options available for you to use in tokens. So if you want to check all the full list of the available options, you can go to the personalize button here in the upper right-hand corner, and you can see our full list of tokens available. In addition, if you want some bonus points here, you can also use any custom property as a token. So if you're familiar with the custom properties, they are bits of information that you can add into any one of your events. It could be something like the client's budget, or maybe there's a Pinterest link that you want to add in there. But any token that you, or excuse me, any custom property that you can think of, you can also use as a token here in your contract terms. If you're interested in learning more about that, Miranda, there should be the article on custom properties. If you can add that into the channel there, and then there will be information on using your custom properties there for your tokens. If you ever need to remove a section here, you're going to go ahead and click that X right here. And then you can also choose to show deleted for any of the things that you've already deleted, and you can restore those at any time. Lovely. All right, and then again, we're just going to want to go ahead and click that save button at the bottom. Moving on to the next section, which is going to be our financials. This is where we're going to list out all of the information about how our clients can make their payments. So we're going to put our default payment schedule, as well as changing currency, and if you accept checks, your make checks payable too. So starting here in the payment settings area, the first dropdown that we see is going to be a currency dropdown. So if you are in another country and you take a different form of currency, you can go ahead and select from these options that are listed here. Right beside that is going to be an option to add a convenience fee. So if you are accepting credit card payments and you want to pass along the fees associated with processing those payments to your clients on a per payment basis, you can do that here by entering in the percentage. And then when you go log those payments in your individual events and you say, yes, this was made with a credit card, it will add that fee onto the payment. Right below that is going to be an area to list out where people can send checks to. So if you take checks, I know that a lot of people do not take checks anymore, but if you do take checks, you can add that information here. It will populate onto the proposal on the summary page, which is going to be the last page there. Right below that, again, for my friends in other countries, if you have a GST number, you can enter that number in here because it's required by law that that number be visible on any of the proposals that you send out to your clients. It is also going to be on the proposal itself. Tanya, yes, if you don't want the make checks payable language to show, you'll just remove everything from all of those fields, and then that section will not show up on the proposal. All right, and then to the right here, we have our default payment schedule. Again, keep in mind that this is just going to be how I primarily like to take my payments. But if I need to make that change for a specific client to include 4 payments, or maybe it's all in one payment, I can do that on a per event basis as well. So right now, my primary default payment schedule, I have 3 payments, retainer, second, and final. I do have a mix of amounts and percentages here. So my retainer is going to be $1,000 due now, and now would mean at the time of signature. Then my second payment is going to be due 60 days prior to the event. And then my final payment is 30 days prior to the event. The due column here is going to be days out previous the event. So just keep that in mind. Something else to note is that any percentage-based payments that you have here on your default payment schedule will need to add up to 100%. So for example, I have mine here at 50 and 50, but you can break that down however you want as long as it adds up to 100%. Just like on the previous page on our contract terms, how we had a show deleted option. If I delete any one of my payments and I want to restore them, I can go to the show deleted button here in the top right, and that's going to show me all of my previous payments that I can go ahead and restore at any time. If I need to add an additional payment, I'm just going to click on the Add New Default Payment button and fill out the applicable information. All right, and then the last page here on our company settings is going to be the invoicing. For anybody who is not currently connected to invoicing through Details, the Details invoicing is powered by Stripe. So if you're already a Stripe user, that's going to be very beneficial. You can just go ahead and attach your current account. However, if you are not a current Stripe user, that's perfectly fine as well. And you can come into this page. If you're not already connected, you'll just see a white bar across the top, and it will have a button for you to go ahead and create or connect your Stripe account. It's free to sign up and free to maintain, but just like any payment processor, there are fees associated with processing those payments, and you'll see those fees listed there. And of course, like we mentioned on the previous page, in Details, if you want to pass those fees along to your client, so it's not going to be any out-of-pocket cost to you, you can certainly do that as well. Once you are connected with our invoicing, you do have the option to customize emails and the invoice note that gets sent off to your client. So the invoice ready email is something that gets sent to your client when the invoice is ready to pay. The thank you email, of course, is going to be after they have made that payment. The invoice note here shows directly on the invoice itself. And again, any of these 3 options are completely customizable. All right, so that concludes our company defaults. I did also want to mention one more default area, which is going to be in the proposal. So for anybody that doesn't know, your Details account in the proposal area will come preloaded with some default images. Right now, it's a wonderful like boho kind of scene there, but you can make changes to that proposal at any time. So if you have a specific set of images that you want to populate every time you start a proposal, also if there are things that you are choosing to hide or remove or adjust, like the titles of the different pages or sections, and you want that to be changed for every proposal moving forward, you can come in here and create your defaults. This will need to be done from inside of an event. So you may want to just go ahead and create like a dummy event and then go into that proposal and make those changes. So right now, I can go into my event here. I can click on my individual photos and update those just like I would with any normal proposal. Things that are going to be saved in the default will be anything that you can change on the proposal. So that's going to be things like your images, all the titles, on the front page, that featured name 1 and 2, featured title, proposal 4, all of that good jazz. That's going to be included in your defaults. Additionally, for any page, let me go over to the line items page here. For any page, if you have something that you always like to hide, so maybe I always hide my line item prices, or maybe I always hide the recipe name. If you do that every single time, you can go ahead and hide those before you save your defaults. So once you've created your proposal, updated any titles, changed out photos, hid some sections, anything that you'd like, at the top in the proposal settings area, there's going to be a menu button, and you'll have a save as option. And then from there, you can click on the drop down menu and save this as proposal defaults. And then of course you can go ahead and add a description in there. What that will do is that from there on out, any events that you create moving forward will have those proposal defaults. It will update with any of the images and changes that you had saved here in your defaults. While we're here though, I also wanted to mention that you can also make templates. So if you want to make templates of your proposal that you can easily load in at any point, like you can with your worksheet, you can do that here as well. All right, well, this concludes our class today. So I just want to open the floor and see if anybody has any specific questions, anything else that they we're wanting to learn about your defaults. I'd be happy to go over those at this time. All right, it looks like everybody is good. No one has any questions for me. All right. Oh, okay. Let's see. Marcella, you said you have questions. And then Miranda said, can we move delivery to services? Yes, you can. You can definitely move that. Instead of doing it in the fees section, if you want to move it up to your services section, you'll just add a new row onto that services section, and you can name it delivery fee or just delivery, and add that into your services section. Just make sure that you're putting that in there as a taxable service, so TS under that tax column. And then from there, it will populate as a service. Okay, Tanya said, the automated emails, who do they come from? Who is the sender? The sender is details, it's system@detailsflowers.com is the email address that it comes from. Marcella, then if you don't have a tax attached with the planning services, it will not show up in the summary. I do put the quantity. So are you marking it as non-taxable? Yes. Okay. So something to keep in mind for everybody in details is anything that you mark as a non-taxable item is automatically going to be categorized as a product. So in this case, do you charge tax on any services that you do, Marcella? Okay, so in that case, what I would recommend is we're going to go over into our company settings in event defaults. You are going to add that line item into your services section. So we'll do that together now. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to add a row, change that to delivery. Let's just say I'm going to charge $200 for my delivery there. All right, so I want this to show up in the services line, right? So I'm still going to tax it as a taxable service. But if I don't charge tax on service, or my state doesn't, then I can just go on up here, put 0 in there. And what that does is it allows me to put that into the services line, but then I'm charging 0% tax. So it's tax is a taxable service, but the tax on services is 0. So in that case, it's going to show up here under services, and it's not going to have any applied tax. So that would be my suggestion for that. Tanya says, is it possible to set up payment reminder emails that are triggered in advance of payment dates? Yes. So inside of an event on that invoicing page on the left-hand side, there's going to be an option there to auto send email reminders. You get the option to choose from a reminder either 3 days, 1 week, or 2 weeks prior to the next billing date. So let me go ahead and show you that. But please keep in mind, this is going to be per event. It's not something that you can default. You will need to click that checkbox every time. All right, let me go ahead and I'm going to go into invoicing. All right, so on the left-hand side here, we're going to have this auto send option. It's a checkbox. We're going to go ahead and check that box. Also keep in mind that this option is only going to, it will otherwise be grayed out unless you have an email listed for your client. So if you don't have an email listed for your client, then this option will just be grayed out. But if you have an email listed, you'll have this auto send option. You can set it up to either 3 days, 1 week, or 2 weeks prior to the next billing date. All right, so is there a way under the cost to cross-reference the item/design within the event that we are doing the itemized flowers for? Okay, hold on. Is there a way under the cost to cross-reference the item/design within the event that we are ordering the itemized flowers for? I guess I'm not understanding that question. If you could just reword that maybe. Are we talking about more like a stem counter? All right, so we'll wait on the answer for that. When you go to costs, is there a way to identify which item those particular flowers are for? Like Sahara roses are for bouquets. Not on the cost page. On the cost page, it does not show what those items are going into. I mean, you can definitely reference your worksheet. You can, in the document section, there's a section that lists out your recipe PDF there. So it lists out what items are going in what recipe. But on the cost page, it doesn't say it's going into the bouquets. All right, hopefully that answered your question there. Does anybody else have any questions? Go ahead and give that a couple minutes here. So hopefully after our class today, everyone is super jazzed and ready to go in and audit their account. Definitely, like I said at the beginning, I would recommend that you audit your account at least annually. I would say definitely in that company's area, because some of the most important things to your business are going to be there. Things like your contract terms, that default payment schedule, setting up all of your sections and line items so you don't have to spend extra time doing that on each individual event. So I would definitely recommend to do all of that. Someone said, where is this recording available to watch again? So after each one of our tips and tricks webinars, It's normally about 2 days, and then we send out a recording with the full edited video ready for you guys to rewatch. So as long as you have registered for the class and put in your email and everything, you should be getting that follow-up email. Otherwise, it will always live on the main menu here under support and then webinars. All of our past tips and tricks webinars are there as well. So if you ever want to go back and reference, let's say, something that we did back in 2021, you can certainly go back and do that there as well. I would highly recommend, especially for those of you who are newer, to go in and rewatch those webinars. Really informative. We also go over a variety of different things that people often have common questions on. Each one of our tips and tricks webinars and the topics we choose are actually based on what questions we've gotten the most that previous month. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. Additionally, I do want to mention while we're in this section that you can also watch our tutorial videos, sign up for a Details University course, or check out our support center, which my colleague has been putting those links there into the chat. So you can also reference those at any time as well. But if that is the end of our questions here, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. As always, if you have any additional questions or you come across something that you didn't think of while we were on, you can always give us a call. You can reach out by email at support@detailsflowers.com. And then in the bottom left-hand corner of your account, you're also going to see that purple chat bubble, and you can chat with us during office hours, which are going to be Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I thank you all for taking some time out of your, I'm sure, busy Wednesdays to join us on this conversation. And I hope to see you all next month.